Welcome everybody to Literary Crack, the book podcast with the best music you will hear in a book podcast.
Smoke that literature.
I'm Justin, your host, and we have Shane as well. We are back for our second episode. If you missed the first one, don't forget to go back and look at that. It's where we will most likely make you angry, so I want to make sure you're properly furious before you tune into this one. Or you can just jump in now and understand why you'll be angry later.
You would actually prefer to have missed it. If you didn't hear it, maybe don't listen to it. Just start here.
Maybe not. But you will have questions. Funny. You will have questions after we go through this.
I do an imitation of a pissing unicorn. You don't want to miss it. It's a great show.
Absolutely. No, he does. He does. As you may guess from the title, this is our top 10 fiction series of all time. We mostly read, speculative fiction, sci-fi, fantasy stuff, but I left it open just in case some slipped through, on anyone's end. So we're gonna go through those with you today, and you are free to disagree. These aren't the top 10 of all time. These aren't the top 10 objectively best. These are just what we like, and each of us are gonna even disagree with each other. So
my list is your top 10. My list is everyone listening's top 10, not my top 10. Did I make the wrong list?
I see. Well, that's fine.
This captures it perfectly. So Jess will be saying his top 10. I'll be saying your top 10 out there.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Get ready.
And I'll be explaining why all of you are wrong, because
Yes.
I'll be arguing with Shane's top 10. So
I can't wait. It's going to be a smash hit episode. Thanks for being here. This is going to be a lot of fun.
All right. So we're going to start out with honorable mentions. I have a thing with honorable mentions. I think people put too many things in there. So we are unfortunately restricted to one honorable mention to actually make it honor worthy. And this is hard. So I'm going to go with the Powder Mage Trilogy by Brian T. McClellan is my honorable mention. It's a really good trilogy. I like it a lot. Honestly, I think the only thing that probably keeps it out of my top 10 is I just don't remember that much about it. I read it like 8 years ago, maybe even a little bit longer than that. And, it's a good series. It didn't shatter anything, but just a really cool magic system, really interesting characters. I really like the premise. If you don't know, it starts right. It's kind of like if you imagine the French Revolution, except it's not historical fiction, but just imagine that the French have just killed the monarchy and are now setting up their government. And this is sort of where your story starts with some weird immortal gods that are at play and magic and gunpowder based magic, which is super interesting. So lots of guns and it feels very cinematic. So I really like the series a lot, but it's just I couldn't put it in my top 10 because there's so many really good series.
Yeah, the series is so fun because I love that you said it because it's at the very end. I have a list of books called, these would probably be in my top 10 if I remembered them, and Powder Mage is in that list of books.
That's awesome.
So it's on my things I want to reread list at some point because I read it so long ago.
Yes.
My honorable mention, I just decided, I have 4 or 5, and I'm going to decide on the one to make it honorable. It's going to be Acts of Cain, Book 1. It's called Heroes Die.
Ooh.
By whoever it's by Matthew Stover.
Matthew Stover.
Yeah. Because I love the premise. The plot and the premise are what does this book for me. It's so unique. On a high level, it's like if we, as people of Earth, discovered another world, and we decided the most interesting thing that we could do with that other world, the most meaningful thing that we could do, definitely not meaningful. What was I trying to say? It's as if we, the people of Earth, discovered another world and decided the most utility thing that we could do is send people over there with cameras and microphones and change television into real live entertainment. And we just send people in to fuck up this world for our entertainment. And one of those people is Cain, who's an assassin. And he kills someone important. And it's it just gets crazier from there. It's a lot of fun. Highly recommend it. Check it out. But only the first book, specifically Acts of
Right.
Cain, book 1. It's a standalone. You don't need to read the follow-ups. I didn't enjoy them nearly as much, if at all, as the first one. So we'll leave it there.
Yeah, I would totally recommend this series more, but I know that people will go and read the second ones, and I just feel bad for everyone that does it.
Like I
But
did.
no, I did the same thing. I was just
Yeah.
like, oh, the second book's got to be good, and I was just, it was just such a, I don't know what happened, but the Heroes Die is an excellent novel. I really love it a lot. Shane, do you want to go with what is your number 10?
Ooh. All right. I'll do it. I'm going to say Tales of the Ketty J, the series,
Ooh,
is number 10. It's a steampunk. It's the only steampunk on the list. I love the character development. The plot is really interesting. There's a lot of great plot twists. The magic system and the world are really interesting. But what really gets me here is the character development. You get this crew of people on an airship, and all of them have backstories. None of them are boring. And it's just a group of people that I really enjoy spending time with. I've read it twice, and I enjoyed it both times.
it's so good. Yeah, it's a crew on a steamship. It's kind of like steampunk pirates. Each member of the crew is running from somebody, or not from somebody, but
Something.
from something in their past.
Yeah.
They'll have some kind of issue, and they all sort of create this motley crew of broken people, and lots of heists, lots of really good action scenes. You also have some POV chapters from the ship's cat, which
Yes.
I
that's right.
love.
It's so good. That cat has more
Yes.
personality than some of the characters I've read in other books.
It does. It does. He's a great cat. And I will say, when I first read this, book 1, I was like, it's a good book. And I was like, I don't know if I want to go on. And people were like, no, it gets really good. And it's right. They're totally right. I think book 1 is a very good intro to the world. But I don't think it's representative of the overall quality of what the series does. And I think it gets so much better. I like book 1 a lot,
Yeah.
but the others are just a step up for sure.
What about you?
My number 10 is Discworld by Terry Pratchett.
I should have known.
This was hard for me, honestly. Number 10, it was a hotly contested spot, but I'd swap several out over and over again.
Me too.
I put Discworld. So here's the thing, I love Discworld a lot. I've only read 13 of the books, and they're small books. That's not saying
Out of
a
what,
lot.
60?
There's 40. I think, I don't know how. There's at least 40.
It's like the In Death series by J.D. Robb. It's like
Yeah. It's just a ton of
exact same
little
thing,
tiny.
really.
I like this series a lot. I think Terry Pratchett really, he just has such a unique style of writing. He has such a unique take. There's just nothing in fantasy
Terry Pratchett's
like
a
it
dude?
that I know. Yeah.
I thought Terry Pratchett was a lady my whole life.
What world? We learn something new every day.
Is Terry Brooks also a dude?
Yeah.
Is Terry
Goodkind's also a
as
dude.
well? Oh my god! What? I gotta go. There's a lot of learning I need to do.
Apparently, Terry's a feminine name in your head permanently.
I knew Terry
It's just-
Goodkind was a guy. That was just kidding. If you've read Sword of Truth,
Oh, there you go.
you would know.
Yeah. Oh my god. But yeah, no, it's a good series. Honestly, why it's not higher? Because I think there's a lot of people that are like, why isn't this higher on your list? I think, at least where I stopped reading at book 14 or something. I didn't read these back to back. I read these over the years, and I do want to go back to it. But one reason I stopped is because I felt like I sort of understood the message of it, and sort of understood his kind of key premises that he has, and the messages he wants to share through his books. So understanding kind of where he's coming from, it was just kind of okay, there wasn't a lot of surprises, and it was so funny, but it wasn't. I just felt like it was a little too forceful at times. At least where I stopped. I think it might get better, and I don't always agree with what he's saying, and that doesn't make it a bad book at all. But I just some of the messages are a little too like postmodern for me. But that doesn't make them bad books. It just puts it a little bit farther down on my list. But they're so good. If you haven't read Discworld, there's so many good places to start. Guards is a classic. Small Gods is a great book.
That's a classic.
I read Chin and I both actually listened to the BBC radio drama adaptation of Small
Shout out to our
Gods.
man Drew Mochak, the man behind Thought Food.
Absolutely. Yes, and it was incredible. So yeah, you need to read it. If you haven't, you really need to read Discworld. It's really good.
I haven't read it. I don't know anything
You need to.
about this.
You need to go read Guards one of these days.
Okay. I just love that it's like the world is on the back of a turtle, and then the
Yes.
turtle's on the back of another turtle. Like, the way to incentivize me to read a book is to say that the entire premise of your world literally rests on the backs of turtles. Like, yep.
Yeah.
That's a book for me. I'm
Well,
in.
it's on the back of a turtle, and it's carried by 4 giant elephants that support all the 4 corners of the disc. I guess 4 sides,
Oh.
whatever.
I thought it was
yeah.
turtles all the way
And-
down. That's a John.
No,
Green
not
Okay.
not this guy.
book. Yeah. Not this guy who we just learned was a guy. Different.
Exactly.
philosophy. So, my number 9. This is one of 2 people who made it. One of 2 authors who made it onto my list twice. And you'll be very surprised, I think. Number 9 is Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith by Matthew Stover.
All right, I love it.
Yeah, this is so. This is it's sort of like an honorable mention for me, but it's just such a huge part of what I grew up reading. Star Wars was such a massive part of my childhood and what I love to read. And I think Revenge of the Sith is one of the all-time best written Star Wars books, and they don't get nearly enough credit. They don't get nearly enough love thanks to the movies, and now that Disney's taken all the books out of canon. You miss out on a lot of the fun. But Episode 3, by far, I think is the best Star Wars book. Matthew Stover did some really great writing in that universe. The plot twists, the characters. If you listen to the Audible version, the sound design's pretty cool. The action's really intense. It's a lot of fun. It's a unique way to explore the Star Wars universe. I think it's worth your time.
That sounds like fun. I think, unless they changed it, I think they only removed from the modern Star Wars canon anything after book 6. I think.
Really? They probably
Yeah, I think all the other
would have
ones still
removed
work.
but they probably removed the Clone Wars stuff because they have all those things going on, and then they probably removed because there's like the Han
Maybe.
Solo trilogy and like all the stuff that happens between episodes 3 and 4 that I'm sure they would have cut.
That's true.
And now I think they're even doing prequels before episode 1, if I remember right. So,
yeah.
I
They
think
might
they just
have.
wiped it all out. I think it's
They probably did. I know when they initially did it, they're like, we're not going to do that, but I could totally see that happening now.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments
Who's
if you
surprised?
know anything different about that, because I'd love to
Yes.
to
Please.
know if they axed it. That would suck. Number
Let me add to
9.
my seat.
So this one is the technical name of this. Actually, I think is like the Books of Elan, but I call it the Rhaenyra universe by Michael J.
Oh.
Sullivan.
Yeah.
These are
Good stuff.
really good. Rhaenyra Revelations is amazing. It's such a good gateway. Like if you like Lord of the Rings, if you like sort of traditional fantasy like that, I think Rhaenyra is a great gateway into the genre. It's a heist book. It's got great characters. Royce and Hadrian in particular are great.
Yep.
Myra and the Monk. So I love Revelations. I think Age of Legends of the First Empire is this prequel series, and I think it does. I think he's doing something unique compared to a lot of people in the genre. There really aren't many fantasy stories like that. I think there are good parts of it, and there are parts I don't like of that series, which is why it's not higher up. I think there's just some lows that take it down a little bit. and then he also does some middle like standalone novels that are really good, excluding Ezra Harden in my opinion, but that's a minority opinion. And I also think Rhaenyra Chronicles, which are these like Royce and Hadrian prequels where they're going on adventures before the events in Revelations. Those are also pretty good. I'm not a huge fan of the first one, but I think overall they're real. I haven't read book 4 yet, or book 5. Book 5's coming out soon, but yeah, books 2 and 3 in particular in that one are really good. So I think it's really ambitious what he's done, and I think it's really creative, and I do just like his writing overall. So that's why he's in my top 10.
You said he. Michael J. Sullivan is also a dude? No, just kidding. I knew that one.
Exactly.
I knew that one. Okay.
As opposed to
My
Michelle
number-
J. Sullivan.
Yeah, right. As opposed to Michelle J. Sullivan. Who's lovely, by the way.
Exactly.
My number 8 is the first trilogy of Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I haven't read the second trilogy yet. I'm waiting for it to be complete. And now it's no longer a trilogy. It's going to be 4 books. But that first trilogy is some of my all-time favorite science fiction. I love how the universe works. I love how the characters work. The plot is riveting. From this point onward, we're looking at books that I couldn't turn away from. I couldn't look away. It was a struggle to move on when the books were done, and it was a struggle to even pause reading to, like, I don't know, take care of life and make money and get a degree and all that. Like, these are books that was seriously hard to look away. And the sort of the start of those, I would say, is Red Rising.
I'm really excited to get into this one, especially with the graphic audio adaptations of
I
the
know, I
original
haven't tried that.
trilogy.
I read it in text. Knowing our luck and our dynamic, you're gonna hate it. Like, this book is shit.
I hope not.
You never know.
Everything
I like
I've
almost everything
I
that
don't know.
Justin recommends to me, and it's like a 60-40 shot whether Justin will like what I recommend back.
It is. I'm really hard to recommend for. Like a lot of people struggle, and I just don't like books for random reasons, and it's just like reasons no one can predict. I'm just like, this is. I don't know. I'm really fickle. I'm hopeful. I've heard so many good things about this trilogy and about the series overall, like the latest 3 books, and I'm just kind of waiting for book 7 to come out for me to start it, and that should
Yep.
be the last one. So I'm
wait.
really excited for it.
All right.
Number 7. Oh, sorry, number 8. Number 8 is Harry Potter by J.K.
Oh, wow.
Rowling.
Interesting.
Top 10 for me. It doesn't make a lot of top 10 fantasy lists, and I think it's a shame. I think it's undeniable that it changed a lot of things. It changed
Oh, yeah.
the children's literature genre, which is what it is originally classified as. It altered the genre when it came out in terms of what authors were allowed to do in that space. It sold so many copies, just crazy amounts of copies. I mean, that's just raw popularity, and I think it got dyslexic kids to read, which is fantastic. And I just love the writing style. I do like the characters. I understand. I know people will come after me. I know some people will tune out because I say that, and I understand that there are problems with the author, that she has views that people disagree with. I understand that. I understand a lot of why people don't want to talk about the series, but I still really enjoy it in terms of content, in terms of characters. It obviously has a lot of weaknesses. I mean, we can trash talk Harry Potter all day about how the world building makes no sense and how everything would just kind of fall apart if it was a real thing. And sure, like,
said it, not me.
absolutely, that's not it's not her strong suit. But it's just an incredible story, and it's a really captivating story, and it's produced, I think, more fan fiction than maybe anything else that I can think of. And
That's my
incredible.
thing about Harry Potter. Like, my number one compelling argument for the impact of Harry Potter is how much creative work, how much art the Harry Potter world has inspired people to create for free. These people had little to no chance of ever making money off of the fan fiction and the maps and the art, and the world that they expounded on, and they did it anyway. That, like, I maintain that websites like fanfiction.net and Wattpad and whatever I don't know what people read. AO3, is that what people read now for the fan
I have no
fictions?
idea. Maybe.
Like, Harry Potter fan fiction is what started them, and to some degree Harry Potter fan fiction is still keeping them going. It's a huge driving force, and no other series ever, except for Star Wars, in my opinion, has had a comparable impact on writers and creatives like that. So Harry Potter didn't
Yeah.
make my top 10, spoiler alert, but the impact is on, like, it's incomparable, I think,
Yeah. 100%.
for sure. My number 7, I'm curious what you're going to think of this. It hit number 7 for me, The Night Angel trilogy by Brent Weeks.
Ooh.
Yeah. Killer plot. The graphic audio adaptation in particular here, I couldn't recommend more highly. You know, it's the 7th most highly recommended book in my list. But I think it's the acting, it's the sound design. Johann Detweiler as the engineer did a phenomenal job. But of course, in the book itself, the plot is crazy interesting. For me, it wasn't so much the characters that drew me in, as it was the plot and the concept of the way that we approached being an assassin. I thought was just so interesting, and the way that quickly evolves out of control, it's just a lot of fun. I'm excited to I haven't read the 4th book yet, the Nemesis stuff. I'm excited for that's coming soon for me.
Yeah, I really like this series. I think what drew me in was how he decided to handle Doll Girl in the very early pages, and I unfortunately I can't. I mean, it's so early on, but I won't spoil it for you. But there's just the way that he handles her whole story, is, even though she's not even like a major character, major arc of the whole thing necessarily, but just that early on, I was like, it just kind of showed me like we're really gonna do some kind of dark and interesting things, and some good twists. And the only reason I didn't put it in my top 10 is because I was like, well, I already have a spoiler. Brent Weeks is in here somewhere, but I didn't want to. I wanted to make room for another author, and that was the only reason. Otherwise, yeah, it would definitely be in my top 10. I really like it.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
And graphic audio for sure. Everything same instead of graphic audio, 100%.
I would really enjoy these books, but the graphic audio adaptation is what pushed it into my top 10.
It sells it for sure. It's incredible.
Yep.
Okay, number 7, Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson. This one I'm gonna have opposite reactions to some of my other ones. Why is this so low? But I really like this series a lot. It's very long. I mean, it is long. I think, I mean, if you want to rave about Wheel of Time, you can tune into any YouTube channel or other podcasts, and they'll tell you all about how great it is. I'll just say the reason why it's so lower on mine is because sometimes I just got lost with who the characters were. Like, not the main characters, but there's just so many characters, and I was just like, things would happen, and they'd be like, whoa, look at this, it's so important. And I was like, who's that again? And that was hard, and I just didn't want to go through the glossary. And then the other reason is, I don't think the slog is as bad as everyone thinks it is. Like, people say 7 through 10. I totally disagree. I think it's like 9 through 10. 9 and 10.
Book 8 is the shit.
Yeah, I love Book 8. I think the prologues in like 7 and 8 are the best in maybe the whole series. They're really good. It's just, and some of it is also just the way it came out. The way it came out, people weren't reading things back to back and benching stuff as much. So they had like these 200-page recaps in the beginning of each book, 150 pages of just kind of recapping things. And that kind of takes a little bit out for me. But it's still a great series. It's also just another one of these. It's just undeniable that it really did shape the fantasy genre. It really inspired so many authors to write and to fall in love with it. And so, yeah, number 7 for me.
Yeah, I think of Wheel of Time and also the Demon Wars saga by R.A. Salvatore. I think of those two as like fantasy Bible material. Mm-hmm. A lot of people say like Chronicles of Narnia and Lord of the Rings, but for me it's those two. And I I hold them very highly. I actually, in sort of thinking about the criteria that I made my top 10 with, I should have put Wheel of Time actually in place of Night Angel, because I've read Wheel of Time. I spent so much more time on it, and it's had so much more, I think, of an impact, or was kind of with me when I was going through more in my life than Night Angel was. And so I should have put Wheel of Time there instead of Night Angel, and kept Night Angel back in my honorable mention list.
Fair enough. And it inspired Night Angel so much, like the whole chantry and like all of that stuff. Like there's so many like Wheel of Time elements in Night Angel. It's crazy.
It's so true. It's so true. I've read that whole series twice. It's so good.
That's wild. I can't imagine rereading it again. It was a great ride, but I don't know if I can get on the horse again. Maybe one day.
Even the 200-page recaps. I didn't like. Justin always talks about the 200-page recaps, and I didn't even like. There's like maybe one or two books where I kind of noticed that happening, but it didn't feel that bad. I mean, okay, the braid tugging, it gets a little excessive. All right, but yeah, I don't like. I will say I don't think Robert Jordan writes female characters very well.
Yeah.
I think, that's a sort of a staple of fantasy at the time, and sort of like how that kind of reflects the genre and sort of reflects the Robert as an author a little bit. But it's such a formative series. It's so good.
I feel like Egwene is okay. Like as a female
true.
character, I thought they did a good job with her. I feel like the only ones that maybe are a little tougher, or there may be a couple tough ones, but I definitely seen worse. I didn't think it was bad, but it wasn't great either.
Yeah,
it depends on how much you want to.
They're also similar to each other.
That's
many
true.
of them are really similar to each other. Ironically, I think Berlin is a little different than the other characters. And I don't know. I remember liking Elaine, but I can't really remember why.
I think Elaine is probably the most tropey of the ones, but I almost think that's on purpose, because she's sort of in the most tropiest role.
She's in a tropey role. Exactly.
Anyway. I'll say this, and I won't go on, but someone just told me the other day, they're like, because a lot of people hate Fey'lya, and someone said, the reason why a lot of people hate Fey'lya is because when we're going through Perrin's perspective, your Perrin is able to sense all of Fey'lya's emotions, and Fey'lya doesn't know that. So Fey'lya is acting in ways, and that just never occurred to me that was like the big reason why she kind of gets annoying, because you're like, oh my gosh, like calm down, but it's just because you're in Perrin's head, and I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, that is. I never thought of that. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Number 6 for me, I'm gonna say the Lycanius trilogy. Actually,
Woo!
Justin recommended this to me last summer, and it was one of those series I couldn't put down. I was in kind of a dry spell. I was reading things that I liked, but nothing that was super riveting. And this one was crazy. It was the plot, the way that the series plays with time, and plays with chronology is really interesting. It's the plot that does it for me. I just couldn't stop reading it, especially getting close to the end. I had to pause just because I was enjoying it so much to read something really quickly that I knew that I wouldn't enjoy as much, because it would be even more of a letdown after I finished Lycanius. So that's a great one. Not a lot of people talk about that one, but I really want to shout it out here. It's really, really good.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'll say more later, spoilers, but I agree. It's a great
it gets up. It's way up there. All right.
Number 6 is The Cosmere by Brandon Sanderson. Just this
Cheater. You cheated.
Now,
you can't do
I
that.
really cheated.
You can't
I did it,
do
though.
that. No.
I'm definitely doing it.
Pick one. Pick one.
I can have Mistborn, Stormlight, Warbreaker. I can have them all in one.
Elantris.
Totally.
That's the one. Elantris is your number 6 favorite book, and you have to deal with it. Now,
that's why it's all the way down at number 6, because of Elantris. It would be higher if it weren't for that one, but
I can't believe you did that. That's messed up.
I did that.
I didn't know we could
totally
do this.
did it. I'm totally doing it. No, it's good. So now to be fair, I've only read books 1 and 2 of Stormlight. I'm gonna read the other 3 later today.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yeah, I'm gonna read them
all.
right now. No, I'm gonna read them later this year, right before Stormlight 5 comes out. I've read Elantris, Warbreaker, and I haven't read all the Cosmere books. I read most of them, except for Stormlight. So really good stuff. I mean, Mistborn's my favorite completed thing. Not completed, but it's got like 2 completed trilogies, so it's the best thing I can say. I really like it a lot, especially Era 1. And I think Words of Radiance is a fantastic book. I've heard the Stormlight books get better after that, so I'm very hopeful. But and that's another graphic audio one as well. I wouldn't have read Brandon Sanderson if Mistborn hadn't been produced in graphic audio. So really good stuff, and I like it a lot. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Literary Crack. This has been part 1 of our top 10 fantasy series of all time. Tune in next time for part 2. As always, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at LiteraryCrackPD, and you can send us an email to literarycrackpodcast@gmail.com. See you next time!